Well, straight to the big exclusive of this evening. The monsoon is heading towards a monsoon session is rather heading towards a washout, with virtually no business transacted in the last couple of weeks. But the finance minister still remains hopeful as far as the passage of the GST bill is concerned. CNBC TV 18's Nayantara caught up with Arun Jaitley a while back. She began by asking him if the government was in a position to even table the GST bill given the parliamentary logjam.
No, tabling is not an issue. Parliament still has a little over a week to go, and a week is too long a time in politics. And therefore, I hope in those who are disrupting India's parliament, and by disrupting parliament, they want to disrupt the process of economic growth of India, so that the momentum which has picked up is somewhat halted. Don't pursue that course. Better sense prevails, and they allow a normal functioning of Parliament. Since it's a constitution amendment, there has to be a vote by pressing the button. And for that, the House has to be in order. And it would be much better that they sat on a table, discussed the bill on its own merits, and then which is a larger consensus, because except for the Congress, almost every party is in agreement. One or two parties have given a nominal dissent, but I understand they are in support of the bill because those parties in the Lok Sabha, most of them had supported the bill, and there's no reason why they will take a different stand in the Rajya Sabha. And therefore, the numbers being overwhelmingly in support of the bill, all states being in support of the bill, the Congress-ruled states having seriously backed the bill, the two finance ministers that the Congress had when in power having seriously backed the bill, I do hope some better sense prevails and they have a rethink as far as the GST is concerned.
But just in case the Rajya Sabha does not function in the last week, what is the game plan? Is that deadline of 1st April 2016 then gone? Are you looking at a new deadline?
Well, I am not going to ever give up hope because it's my job to pursue it and pursue it seriously. There are many other options available in politics. I am not in a position to declare all of them in the media right now. And I would say the deadline for 1st April 2016 is an ideal deadline. It's a deadline which not only the central government, all the state governments want. It's going to expand revenues, it's going to make taxation much easier, it's in the interest of trade, it's in the interest of economy, and mere cussedness on behalf of one party should not thwart that process.
So you have lots of options, you don't want to declare them, but can you give us an idea? What is extending the session, a joint session, a special session, what?
No, a joint session is not a constitutional option available for a constitution amendment. It's only available for an ordinary legislation, not for a constitution amendment. So that's obviously ruled out. But then you have the parliament in session. You have a parliament which can be called any time. And therefore, if the present impasse is to end, and the Congress party is to come on a negotiating table and discuss the merits of the bill, I am quite certain that they'll turn around to support the bill, because conventionally it was their bill also.
So that means negotiations could carry on post this session as well, post 15th of August, and if need be, you'll call a special session.
The politics is a process by which you discuss, and stalemates are not consistent with democracy. You can't have permanent stalemates. So stalemates have to end. And therefore stalemates will always end by discussion. And I'm a great one for hope. And I'm sure wiser sense will prevail on the Congress, and at some stage they'll have to come on the negotiating table, because unless they want the discredit for delaying GST entirely to be their responsibility.
You said stalemate can never be permanent. If I could now come to land, it did look like there was never going to be any breakthrough with that ordinance, so you've now decided to give the freedom to states. Do you sometimes now look back and think, why didn't we do that in the first place into repromulgating ordinances?
Well, I don't want to make a final comment on it, but I would urge my friends in the media who are discussing this to please read the law. Clause 10A of the 2015 bill also said the appropriate governments may notify any or all of the above. So the option even under the bill was with the states. And therefore, whether under the bill it is with the states or outside the bill it is with the states, it effectively amounts to the same.
If we, just to get our understanding right, we've been speaking to some constitutional experts and they said yes, if states choose, they can dilute the social assessment study, they can dilute the consent clause. However, they will need the centre's approval as well as the president's approval. Is that correct?
You see, if there is a space which is occupied by a central law and the subject is on the concurrent list, the states can legislate, but their legislation is subject to central government approval, which is the president's approval on the aid and advice of the central government. That is the correct position in law.
Okay, so you're pretty much confirming what these people have said. If I could now move on and talk about another controversy that was raging on for the last 10 days, which now the RBI governor seems to have put to rest. How are the relations with the RBI governor between the government and the central bank?
Well, it's a very professional relationship, and it's a relationship which is as correct as should be. It's not, there's no presumption that reports in the media are always correct. And I'm only reaffirming what the governor has said. But then to finalize these processes within the government, there is a procedure. And that procedure is yet to start. Therefore, any reports saying that government has decided this, after all, these matters have to go and be discussed at the highest level. They have to go to the cabinet, for which you have ministerial consultations and so on. That process all has to take place.
But Mr. Maharishi and Governor Rajan seem to have indicated that the two sides have arrived at a certain decision as far as what that monetary policy committee should look like. Can you share with us what it would be?
Well, I don't think it's fair. The Parliament is in session, and the Parliament, after the Cabinet approves it, has a first right to be informed. Therefore, I would not be in a position to make any comment outside Parliament.
But as Finance Minister, what do you think this Monetary Policy Committee, the shape it should take, in the sense the Governor has said the Governor should not have the veto power. So would you agree at least with that?
Well, I will not make any comment. You are asking the same question in another manner, and I will reserve my answer till the Parliament is taken into confidence with regard to the government's decision.
Were you disappointed that the RBI did not cut rates on 4th of August?
You see, the RBI is a professional organization. It's an institution, and therefore the institution takes a lot of factors into consideration. And generally, to comment on those factors publicly is not appropriate for me. I am quite sure that they are as much concerned with the state of the economy as we are. The balancing of growth with inflation control is a priority. And I'm sure RBI is fully equipped on basis of its experience and strength to take all those factors into consideration.
Do you think there is elbow room to cut rates going forward, at least as far as this fiscal goes?
Conditions, I would say, are favorable. Oil prices, from Indian point of view, are as good as they can be. Commodity prices world over are generally low. Rain gods have been kinder this year to us. Even though there is a slight inadequacy, but the spread of the monsoon, the geographical spread and the time schedule has been such that we are expecting a very good crop. And therefore, barring some marginal areas, I see the food inflation broadly under control. And therefore, I think there is a lot of positive hope that I have. There is room for optimism.
You had said this in Parliament as well, that the rain gods have been kinder this year, and you also brought about a case on why this government must spend more. For you to spend more, you will also need those proceeds from disinvestment to come through. We are in the month of August. So far, only 2 small issues have taken place. Are you confident of meeting that daunting task?
Well, we've given a large amount as a target for disinvestment, and we have a schedule. We have our hands full, and we are just in the process of deciding on various companies, except that we can't announce the schedule in advance. If you announce the schedule in advance, then you find a lot of stock market practices which go to attack those particular schedules. So there's an element of surprise which we have to give to the market also. And therefore, please wait for the next few weeks.
Okay, we wait for the next few weeks. But the reason I was also asking this is because a lot of the stocks that have got cabinet approval happen to be from the metal sector, they happen to be from the oil sector, from the commodity world. And that is melting. We're seeing the kind of crash in the commodities market. So isn't that putting the government in a slight tough spot?
You see, it obviously has to be balanced with what the market conditions are. And therefore, we'll take all that into consideration. But then the government also has a very large kitty of shares.
Okay, so can you give a little hint on that? Like, what do you mean by when you say large kitty of shares, wait for the next few years?
Well, you wait for your surprise.
What about hotels? You wanted to, auction hotels. However, the tourism minister in an interview to me as recently as last week has said there will be no outright sale of hotels. They want to examine whether they should first turn profitable, whether there should be franchise management contracts. So is the government together on that?
Obviously, the government is together. The tourism minister has spoken to me. He's in touch with me. And I don't think the government is an ideal institution to be in hospitality business.
Should the government be in the aviation business? I'm talking about Air India, of course.
Well, there are many governments which are in aviation business if the government can run it effectively.
So not right to be in hospitality, but if you can run an airline effectively, you can be in aviation. That's Finance Minister Arun Jaitley. Quick break.